As a young black man, I've always had to remind myself that I'm a good person when the white lady on the street puts as much distance between me and her. As a young black man, I've always had to laugh off people's surprised looks when I tell them I'm in honors classes or have great grades. As a young black man, I've always had to make sure that when seeing a cop driving, I follow every law I know. I've had to laugh off people mentioning how articulate I am or how surprised or proud they are that I turned out as I did. Although these words have no malintent or are considered compliments, if you dissect them, it really means that they doubted me to begin with. They're surprised by the way I speak, meaning that they thought less of me initially. Before speaking to me, they didn't expect me to be as articulate as my peers. In my words, because of what I look like, you saw me as disadvantaged. And only because you did, it is true, I am disadvantaged. I have to work harder just to prove equal or qualified because you doubt me. In his words, as a young black man, I understand that no matter what I do or how good I am, it may never be enough. As a black child, my mom instilled in me a couple lessons. Never to put my hoodie on, never to put my hands in my pockets, never to touch anything I wasn't buying, never to leave the store without a receipt, even if I only bought a pack of gum, never to make it look like there was an altercation between me and someone else, never to leave the house without an ID, never to drive around with my music too loud, never to stare at a Caucasian woman, to always have my hands displayed when being pulled over and announce my every move, or if I was at a party or a gathering and the police came and all the other kids ran, I was to stay, follow their orders, and be punished. As I mature, I realized that these were not casual parenting lessons on how to be mannerable, but lessons on how to preserve my most precious gift of life. Sitting and being punished was better than being killed, shot in the back like the hooded black teen on the news last week, because in a sea of blonde heads jumping a fence, I stick out like a sore thumb. For these reasons, thinking about race gets tiring, and I often find I try to ignore it, to fit in with my surroundings. But no matter how much I try and normalize it or fit in with my crowd, I've always stuck out. I try to act like one of the guys or acting with impunity, but as I matured, I realized this wasn't really possible. When blue and red lights got to flashing, I was not going to be treated the same as my more pale friends. When I was about 12, I learned that my skin was more of an enemy for me. Due to the media's portrayal for people that looked like me, it was only reasonable that they'd be scared of me. It didn't matter that I had never stolen, had a 3.9 GPA, had been a high honor roll student for my entire high school career, wasn't into bad stuff, or had never been into a fight. No matter who you are, I'd say that 70% of the people that you come in contact with throughout life will not be able to get to know you. And it's not because they don't care or want to put you in a box, but they merely just don't have the time. Humans are busy. I get it. But for those that looks like me, that means that 70% of the time, I'm just another young black male, and I need not tell you the stereotypes about these hoodied super predators. So, in 7th grade, I understood that I must change, and I did. I became extremely nice and outgoing. I started to listen more than I ever talked. When I had an opinion to share, I prefaced it with, maybe I'm wrong, but, so as not to be ridiculed as the opinionated black kid like they had done to my more courageous peers. I brought my grades up the highest they could be. I became a pushover and sometimes let people get the best of me. I suppressed my feelings about race so as not to make others uncomfortable. I became so nice, so smart, and so favorable to escape the box that they had already put me in, the one that my skin draped me with to haunt me. In case I was the only black friend that my peers ever had, I felt that it was my responsibility to be the perfect example kid, so that if or when they did have that stereotypically bad experience with a black person, they might not lump all black people together as bad and say, hey, wait, Morse is pretty nice. This is why I've never really been black and proud, but more black and ashamed. Whatever great things I did only made me equal to my Caucasian colleagues. They typically didn't grant me with much praise, but merely dragged me out of the box onto being a more level playing field. As if to say, yeah. I know how you perceive most people who look like me, but look, I can show you that I'm different. Please, just give me the chance. I swear, just give me the chance has been the story of my 18 years. Let me prove you wrong. Let me show you that I'm not what the media portrays me to be. This is why my friends often ask me, Morris, why do you smile at everyone you see, even strangers? And I respond, just 'cause. But really, it's just to show that whoever I'm in contact with, I'm not a threat to them. I'm not going to steal your purse, mug, or assault you. I'm just a kid trying to live my life. The more I think about it, though, the more I can never be upset for anybody putting me into a box. That's a snap judgment, and that's how you survive. If you saw a grizzly bear charging at you from 200 feet away, I too would not stop and think, I wonder if that bear's a good bear with good intentions on the inside. I would cross the street and try to think of a way to get out of the bear's way. That's survival. It's how people stay alive. Again, I'm not mad at them for that. But I'm not a grizzly bear, nor do I want to hurt anyone. I'm an 18-year-old boy, and that's why it's a little tough for me sometimes when the lady does clutch her purse extra hard when it's just me and her in the elevator. Or the store employees only follow me around the stores when I've walked in with a group of boys. Granted, they don't look like me, but it does make me wonder, why aren't they being followed too? They likely have more malintent than I ever did. Or the cold look given to me when in a more affluent place, one in which I might not look like I belong, where a smile and a nod is given to my Caucasian friends. But such is life, a harder aspect of life, and I know that life isn't great for everyone, and no matter what you look like, life can be tough, so I cope. Now when I see the white lady from a block away, I cross the street first so that she doesn't have to. And when I see that she's the only one on the elevator as the doors open, I pretend to take the stairs, let the doors close, and wait for the next car. No one likes to be reminded that they look like a grizzly bear. With everybody doubting you constantly, I'm not gonna lie, after a while, it does make you second guess your courage and question if they are right to doubt you. Maybe you are a bad person. Maybe they should be scared of me. Raised by a single black mom, no father in home, I'm really just another statistic. My chances of spending at least 8 years in jail is around 37%. And pause to think about that. I have a 37% chance of being incarcerated for two things that when I was born were completely out of my control. Personally, I don't hate the police. The police often put their lives on the line to protect people. But when one's life is in danger, you make snap judgments. Due to the color of my skin, unfortunately, I understand that when it comes to snap judgments and the safety of those around me, I'm at a severe disadvantage. If you don't take the time to get to know me, I understand that my skin color means that I'm a threat. That means that for people who look like me, there will be slip-ups. I learned the hard way when coming back from Canada one time. A Canadian Border Patrol agent was questioning my mother about boxes in the backseat in the trunk. She claimed they were just office supplies, but he continued questioning. My naive 15-year-old self thought I would help by reaching in the back to show him what was in the box. But upon turning around, I realized the mood had changed. He had a very stern look on his face, and both hands were to the right side of his hip. I showed him the office supplies in the box, and only after he raised his voice at me, explaining that I had nearly just been shot for reaching what he might not have thought were office supplies. The fear in my mother's eyes when she saw where his hands were placed, I will never forget. I get it. I know how I look, and he didn't know if I was going to pull a shotgun or some notebooks out, but it would be in his best interest to not take the chance. However, the other day on my way to work, I was made late due to a health workers' protest on Capitol Hill. At first, I was confused seeing all the white lab coats and scrubs marching with signs, but after reading them, I was really touched. I mean, there had to be at least 500 people all masked up and marching around Harborview Medical Center. Truthfully, right there at that stoplight, I burst into tears, and I didn't stop crying until I got into work. I felt that those people kind of loved me for the first time. A massive number of people who looked nothing like me were going to fight for me. They had taken the day off to stand in the rain and fight for me. For the first time, I felt like here was a group of people to which my chance was a given. They did not need me to prove anything to them. They saw a young black man, not a grizzly bear or criminal, but just another kid with potential to be a doctor or astronaut or whatever I wanted to be, with nothing holding me back. From all this depressing blah blah blah, I was lucky enough to always have mountain biking as a crutch to fall back on. It was the one place in which, even though I knew I stuck out horribly, at least people were not as obvious about it. This wasn't the case with motocross, but for my mom and I, the Sweetlines family, the Leaves, the Russells never seemed to care what I looked like. Last week in a phone call with Kat, I explained how all of what's going on made me feel, and why I was so happy to say I didn't have a single racist story to tell about mountain biking. Everyone's been nice and kind to me. That's not to say racism in mountain biking doesn't exist, but being part of a community and having Kat's camps, Carter, Doug Russell, Tim or Ethan Lee, shield me really helped. Whether they knew it or not, by taking the time and taking me under their wing or inviting me on rides, they were really protecting me. At least then, whatever look of confusion I might have been given on my own, X person would have had to extend to the entire Sweetlines crew, the Leaves, or the Russells. That's something I'll never be able to thank them enough for. The mountain bike community is full of good-hearted people like the Leaves, Russells, Ostro-Cohens, or the entire Sweetline community. When I think back to it, the only reason why I was ever placed in contact with these families was due to Kat running her camp. Kat, you've done an amazing job at fostering a community in which a kid, no matter what they look like, can feel safe and not only survive their first mountain bike, but really thrive in the community. Diversity in the mountain bike community is a huge problem. Honestly, I can easily understand why. First, it's an extremely financially limiting sport, and two, I've been in a small private school on scholarship since I was 5. I'm used to being the only person of color in my class, or one of fewer than 10. That's why coming into mountain biking really didn't faze me. This is not a luxury that most people of color have, and is why without a support team, or at least one friend to help make them feel comfortable, the discomfort of looking too different can be too great. I promise that everybody here has one kid or one friend who really wants to go mountain biking with you, but is too scared because they might be a noob, look different, or another 1,000 reasons. Mountain biking has truly been an escape for a lot of less fun stuff for me, and I'm sure it is for so many of you riders out there. I just personally challenge you to actively seek that kid who's too scared to come and ask to ride with you next time you think about suiting up. Thank you.
Wow.